We're breaking out a mini bottle, and that can only mean one thing. Today, we're taking a look at a Colorverse ink. With the sheer amount of Colorverse inks that are out there, it's going to be a while before we actually make it through the entire line. So, instead of just starting with one Colorverse ink and not stopping until we've done them all, I'm going to go ahead and just periodically sprinkle these in to keep things fresh. Today, we're taking a look at Colorverse Dark Energy. Now, this is going to be one of those inks where I don't know if we're going to get the color that's here on the sticker or the color that's here on the box. It's going to be one of those things where, I don't know, anytime we see an ink that touts this type of color profile, I don't really trust the color accuracy that's being given to us by the manufacturer. Colorverse does get it closer than most, but there are still times where the color profile can be off. I don't know if this is going to be one of those times, but we'll definitely find out. The one thing I am curious to see, though, is if this gives us a better performance than we saw over on Colorverse Andromeda, because after that ink, I was kind of left disappointed, so hopefully this one will do better. As is the case with all the mini inks, we've already seen this box, we've already seen the pipette, and we know there's no stickers, so we're not going to focus on it. Also, we've seen this bottle before. It's cute, it's 5 ml. If you don't like the ink, you're not out too much money. But we're not going to be focusing on it. Instead, we're going to get right into the key performance indicators and see if this ink is right for you. And no, I'm not going to toss this bottle. It may break, and I don't want to clean up a mess. Since the water test for Andromeda was kind of its only saving grace, let's see if that's the case here for Dark Energy. As we get water on the page, we can see that we have a little bit of color lift going on, but nothing too bad. Honestly, this is a pretty good showing, and I think we're going to be pleasantly surprised with what we have left here on the page. And yeah, once we get water off the page, this is a pretty good showing. What we're left with is a very dark underlayer, and if you do spill water on this ink after you've been writing with it, it's going to be really easy to recover. So like Andromeda, yes, this one does have a 4 out of 5 on the water performance. It's really going to come down to that dry time though, whether or not this ink is actually usable as a day-to-day ink. Already I can tell I'm going to have mixed emotions here. On Rhodia, you can see that we are not dry at the 30-second mark. And that's really going to be a make or break thing here. Because for an ink to be really usable for me, out of a broad nib, it should be able to be completely dry by the 20-second mark on Rhodia. And when we take a look at the... Wow, okay. You know, I do these before I film, and I forgot this was the case. It actually managed to perform better on TR than it did on Rhodia. But, well, no, okay. I'll call it here. 25 seconds on TR out of a broad nib is actually passable. So if you're willing to look past what we had over here on Rhodia and maybe use this one on a paper like TR, then this could actually be a good fit for you. Just keep in mind, it's going to be drying on the slower side, and that may not work if you are a faster writer or do more than one page in a sitting, which I think is probably the majority of us, so this one's still on the fence. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at that color profile and see how that one looks. When it comes to the color profiles on display, I've been known to compare inks to bricks, and this is definitely a brick ink. Over here on the right-hand side, we've got a faded reddish brown, and that continues over into the left-hand side here, where we should have much deeper mids, but we don't. Right here, looks like right here. So once again, we have a Colorverse ink where dynamic range really isn't that much of a thing. So if you're going to be using this in a fine or a medium nib, be prepared to not get much on display as far as dynamic range is concerned. What I would love to see out of this ink, and what I would have really loved to see out of Andromeda, is if the inks could have done what's over here in the transition tones. This is an amazing color profile, and it does have a nice dynamic range. If you could go from the stuff over here, down in the bottom left, this nice little brick red, and have a constant play between the transition tones here and this red here, you would have an amazing ink, and I think that's where this one falls short. It has so much potential from here to here, and yet all of this and all of this is the exact same profile. For an ink like Dark Energy, I kind of expected more. Now, as I'm doing the writing sample, there is one thing I notice that tends to happen more when I don't script these out and I kind of just do them off the cuff. And that is that even though I'm not getting a lot of dynamic range, especially here on TR, I'm getting just enough between the mids and the transition tones that this ink is kind of winning me over. With the dry time performance that we saw along with the water performance, for using this ink on TR, I would actually be happy with it, and I think I'm actually going to continue to use this bottle, unlike Andromeda. I do still wish that we saw some more of the lighter tones coming through here on TR, but overall, it's not bad. And I really do like those deeper browns and kind of almost terracotta reds that we see, or darker terracotta reds. You know what I mean. Either way, I really do like what we're seeing here on TR, and as we move on over to Rhodia, the color profile is actually kind of the same, which makes it a little bit more disappointing that the dry time was as inconsistent as it was, taking almost 35 seconds to completely dry. If we could get that Rhodia dry time down to 20 seconds, which I think you could see from a medium nib, then this ink could actually work on both papers. You can get by with a broader nib on TR, and with a finer nib, then sure. On Rhodia, this ink does work. I do think the pinkish hues in the red do come out a little bit more here than they do over on TR, and that part of the dynamics I actually do like. But once again, we are seeing a lack of dynamic range that I really just wish I could see more Colorverse inks display dynamics in a much better way than they currently do. And that's really the drawback here. If you're looking for a dynamic ink, this really isn't going to be it. But if you like an ink that does a nice brick terracotta red, sure, this ink is a good one for you. And the good thing, you can try out a mini bottle before committing to a much larger size. And that's going to do it for our look at Colorverse Dark Energy. If you liked that video or found it helpful, then hit that like button, get subscribed, and I'll see you in the next one.